Welcome to Cognitions, Speaking the Unspeakable with JP.
And Stacy D.
I am JP Craddock, and that is the one and only Stacy D Love. We are broadcasting here on KUAW Radio. Coming up on the show today, we have part 2 of Diagnosing ADHD. The question of the day exactly was, I struggle with focusing and paying attention. Could I possibly have ADHD? And so in part 1, Stacy D was our test subject. And so in part 1, we started the process of assessing and diagnosing adult ADHD. We're going to wrap that up today. Before we get to that, let's do our check-in. Stacy D, how's it going?
Everything's going good, JP. I can't complain about nothing. If I did, it wouldn't do no good anyway. Just want to give a shout out to all my people. I really want to say congratulations to my granddaughter. She just had her photo shoot for Dre Bay Dog Food. So she most definitely will be on our show and display her entrepreneurship. At 11 years old, I'm loving it. Want to say hey to my best friend, Michelle Lee. Love you, girl. Hey, guess what? I may not always be there, but no, I am there all the time. That's it. Oh, Inga, I love you. I know you watching. You told me you was going to watch today. Love you.
All right.
Your check-in, JP?
Yes. Well, I got a brief little check-in. I noticed that I do something that is a little ridiculous, I guess. You know how
wash your hands all the time?
No, this isn't about hand wash. We're not doing OCD today. This isn't about hand washing. I don't have OCD. I keep saying. All right. I noticed that, you know how you have a text message that it has information in it that you want to forward, like if someone sends you information that you need to forward on to someone else. And I'm wondering, am I the only person that edits and corrects the person's original text message before?
I don't do that.
Do you do that?
I do not.
You don't do that. Okay.
No, that's that person's text message. I'm just forwarding to someone else.
So maybe I'm ridiculous for doing that. But today I was forwarding on a text message. It had some job information to be passed on to someone, and it was words misspelled. There was no punctuation. There was no capitalization. I couldn't handle it. I could not handle it. And so when you forward the text message, it says forward. So I was like, well, the person knows that it's not me.
It can come from you.
Texting like this. But I couldn't even handle seeing that mess. I was like, let me go on and fix it up for them. You know,
I just want everybody to know, and JP, I'm so sorry because Michelle say I always cut you off. But you know, if I don't cut you off, then I'm going to forget because, you know, that's my adult ADHD.
Yeah, go ahead.
But everybody, guess what? Gerald is the text police. That's him. I just want to let you know he's the text police. Because, you know, sometimes people just be texting trying to get the thought in there real quick and just seeing.
Yeah.
D, I have no idea what you was read between the lines. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Stacy JP is the texting police.
Okay, hold on. I need to tell the rest of this story too, because our viewers do not understand. Stacy D, you send text messages that are in a whole other language. Your text messages sometimes, I'm like, I have no idea what she's talking about. And I am not the only one, D, okay? Another friend of ours had to help me interpret your text message one time.
She could interpret it. There's something wrong with you.
No, she said herself. She herself said, I have no idea how Stacy sends out these messages. D, you have a whole nother language that you've created that is close to being English, but not quite.
Hey, I've been trying to do about 10 things at one time, but I got to get this thought out. Sorry. It's
Well,
ADHD.
Apparently, the problem that you just mentioned got on one of my frat brothers' nerves because he sent a message. He sent a text message. This is someone that you know. And I didn't understand the message.
Hey, bro.
Yeah.
Didn't understand the message.
Yeah, this is somebody you've known for a while. I didn't understand the message because of the typo in the message. And so I was like, I don't understand that message. And he just said, never mind, because I guess he was agitated. And so then another one of my frat brothers went ahead and interpreted his message for me, and it made perfectly good sense. And I just told him, like, it was a typo in your message, and I couldn't figure out what you was trying to say. Like, make complete statements, make complete sentences. I mean, this isn't like texting back in the day. Now when you text, you don't even have to use all these abbreviations. Like, texting can go so fast. You have time to be grammatically close to being correct enough for the other person to understand what you're saying.
Once again, who is the texting police? JP.
I apologize to that fool because apparently he was offended or agitated, or I got on his nerves because I said I didn't understand his text message. And so I was like, well, I apologize, but it wasn't literate. It wasn't literate. Okay.
Watch it, JP. You're gonna be in
that's right. That's right. Okay.
Really been getting into a lot of trouble about.
I do go too far. Don't
you go, even though it is speaking of unspeakable.
And I like to speak it.
He go too far. Then he end up having to apologize. I think he's been having to apologize a lot, and the year just started.
No, I didn't apologize to that friend who got mad at me the last time I spoke the unspeakable.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. We're still not. She's not talking to me. She's not talking to me. I didn't apologize to her. I asked her why she the one that was mad. I should have been mad. You price gouging me and you pissed. I didn't understand.
Okay, stop. We're gonna cut it.
Okay. I'm about to do it again. Okay,
we do it again. Yeah. We are not gonna mess up friendship. Speaking unspeakable
we're not.
With JP and Stacy. We're not gonna mess these long life friendships up.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that. Let me.
I just want, look, JP, how you like this?
Hold on, I can't hardly hear you, D. Mr. Walker is doing something. D, I need you here to fuss at Mr. Walker because I cannot hear you in the studio.
But like he's doing a great job on my side.
Could you?
And I just want everybody to know that
you couldn't hear that.
Messed up today. I hear everything. D did mess up today. We were supposed to be in the studio, and oops, I'm at home. It's only 6 degrees outside too, everybody, okay?
The streets are totally clear, D. You like some old woman scared to drive in the snow? Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? You are not 80 years old. The streets are totally clear. They were clear yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yes.
I did not go nowhere.
They cleared those streets.
Well, that's good for everybody else. How many accidents was on the road? It's not about me. It's about everybody else. And I don't have $500 to be doing a deductible because somebody didn't hit me because I'm going to get out the car. I'm mad as hell.
Well, if you have an accident on dry pavement, it doesn't matter whether it's winter, summer, spring, or fall, D. It's dry pavement out there. The streets are clear.
Don't you remember we worked at the one mental health center and I had that accident and I was going to try to follow you all the way in? And evidently you didn't see me. And I slid off the road and went into the mountains. And then when I finally got to the mental health center, I'm like, Gerald, I was following you the whole time. You didn't even see me slide off the road. So ever since then, it's just not a big thing for me.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
D,
I'm gonna tell you, you had the Trans Am. What was
right?
it? That Burgundy Trans Am.
Yes, that sucker could get through some snow.
And I had that Mazda 626 at that red Mazda on them doggone rims. Yeah.
D, why?
We was right there on 38th Street. We
Okay,
was following each other from Missouri.
okay. Now
Mhm.
listen to this though, Stacy. Listen to
What?
this.
What?
We have talked about when it comes to anxiety. When it comes to anxiety, you do not avoid that which makes you anxious. You walk into it. So you are supposed to be out there driving in full blizzards in order to overcome the anxiety. Otherwise, you're going to end up an old woman depending on your kids to take you everywhere you need to go.
I got good grandkids. I got good grandkids.
Grandkids
The
don't want to
honey
be bothered
drop.
with you everywhere you got to
Oh,
go.
the honey drops is gonna take care of me. The honey drops is gonna take care of me.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord.
And now, JP, they got Uber. If it get too bad, hi, I got a credit card. As long as I got a credit card, Uber me. But I will get out. If I was to get like a $50,000 bond, I would have been out there on that highway.
I'll be 95 and still driving through these streets at full speed. Okay, I ain't depending on people to come pick me up and drop me off. I don't play that. You not picking me up and
Well,
dropping
come
me
and
off
get me.
when you
Well,
feel
come and
like
get,
it. I come pick you
come
up,
and get
D.
me then.
Yeah, because you ain't gonna be driving apparently.
I'm not gonna be driving. I already know because right now I don't like really slow down. But sometimes because I drive a Mini Cooper, and sometimes I can just look down and the Mini Cooper is like at 100. So I'm like, whoa.
when people get older, driving is a way of them maintaining a level of independence and having their freedom. And a lot of our elderly people, they fight to keep driving. Because my mother-in-law is in her late 80s and she swears she's buying another car.
I'm mad at her.
And Nadine's like, no, you're not.
Well, I'm going to buy another car too for the honey drops to drive me around looking good. I will probably have me a Bugatti or a Bentley, something like that in the garage. So they're gonna want to come over and drive me around in it.
This is so ridiculous.
You want to drive your honey around in the Bugatti or the Bentley? I mean, a Bentley coupe.
At that age, I'm not driving expensive cars like that. I'm not trying
What you gonna drive?
I didn't say I was gonna be a good driver at 90. I said I was gonna be still driving. There's a difference. I'm not driving no expensive car.
So they gonna take your license from you. I'm just gonna be like, hi, y'all can have them. I'm not even gonna fight. I'm not gonna have them as long as I can still buy me a car every 3 years. Y'all can have it. I don't care.
Not me. I'm hitting them streets and rolling out.
Just come and get me. Come get your friend.
Okay, are you ready for mental health and illness in the news? Because we have to do a bonus segment today for Black
History.
For Black History
Month. Come on.
Okay,
I'm gonna keep you on schedule. Come on, JP.
Oh, you gonna keep me on schedule? Okay. For Black History Month, we are going to do Black History in the Making. We are going to
real nice.
discuss things that are currently going on that will most likely make it into the history books. But before we get to that, a little bit of mental health and illness in the news. There has been an upsurge of suicides in the country. A former Miss USA, Chesley Chris, committed. So sad. Yes, she committed suicide.
I don't think she was suicide, but hey, that's my fault.
Okay, well, they're saying it's suicide by jumping from her Manhattan condo last Sunday. What are you thinking? Somebody pushed the woman out off the. Well,
or made her jump.
Okay.
I mean, that's just my thought. That's just my thought because they said she left behind a suicide letter or suicide text, and I was like, okay, today's a good day.
Well, no, I mean, if a person could write a note. they probably checked the handwriting, but they reported that she was struggling with some depression. Her mother termed it that she was high functioning depressed, which isn't an exact clinical term, but it's self-explanatory. And apparently she hid this depression from her mother until right before she committed suicide. And so this is really sad, and it's shocking because women do not typically use such means for suicide. Women typically commit suicide with much less intrusive means, like, pills and different things like that. Usually it is men that will do something that involves a gun or jumping off of a ledge or something like that.
Taking a car into a brick wall or sitting in the garage with your car on. Okay, we're going to start giving people.
Yes. Yeah, we don't want to give tips on that. But the reason why I'm addressing it is that level of lethality shows a level of determination to die. She did not want to take a chance on using a means that oftentimes people end up not completing suicide, like pill overdoses and things like that. And so it's really sad and unfortunate that she was so determined to end her life, and that she completed that. It's devastating. And so our prayers go out to her family.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
So, all right. Let's get to Black History in the Making.
Woo!
What I was thinking we could do is cover some stories that are current and that will likely make it into the history books. The first one, these are not always going to be positive stories because we are Black in America, and there are a lot of unfortunate things that take place that are not exactly positive, but they are history making. And so currently what is going on is, I don't know if you heard about this, Dee, but there have been about 14 bomb threats to HBCUs.
Yes, I did.
Including Howard, Spelman, and Southern. In a matter of hours, the number was skyrocketing because initially I had heard it was 6 schools, and before I knew it, it was up to 14 schools. I have a client who attends an HBCU, and so I reached out to her to be sure that, she was okay and that her anxiety levels were not skyrocketing. Excuse me. And so, she said that the school handled it really well. They handled it really well. They're doing everything that they can to ensure the safety of the students. The FBI is investigating. But this speaks to just the state of America at this time when it comes to race relations. I can't say that I was surprised to hear this. I can't say that I was surprised. So that's unfortunate. What were your thoughts on that, Dee?
JP, I'm right there with you. It's been a lot of stuff going on these last 5 years. I'm really surprised right there with you that it hadn't happened a few years earlier. I think it's just terrible. It's just terrible. They are historical colleges, and it just shouldn't have never happened.
Right.
But one thing about it is I'm glad that the FBI is looking into this very seriously. I applaud them for not just putting it to the wayside, but they're really looking into it. So I'm happy about that.
Right. Mr. Walker, can you turn me on?
We thought
I can't
you were.
see. All right. This next story is a positive story. Apparently, Joe Biden has set a goal to appoint a Black female to the
Heard about
Supreme
that.
Court.
Yes.
And that will absolutely be a history making event.
That will most definitely be in the books.
Right.
Most definitely.
And so it'll be nice. Of course, you know, we do have an African American male on the Supreme Court now, but what should I say about Clarence Thomas? Let me see. We're on the radio, but this is Speaking the Unspeakable.
Speak down and speak it, because you know you will. But the good thing about it is that he don't know you, so you don't have to apologize to him.
I'd apologize to that Uncle Tom anyway. Oh, I just said it. Oh, well, it flew out. All right. So it'll be nice to have an African American on the Supreme Court who's actually an African American. And
both of them are African American. It's just how they view things, how they view lives, how they view our lives. Yeah. So her views is a lot like our views.
And Uncle Tom doesn't deserve to be referred to as an African American just because he has melanin in his skin. But okay, D, we'll roll with that. It has
quite a bit
too. I think that this hopefully.
He wasn't in the house.
hopefully this takes place. Hopefully this takes place, and you know, we can have some true representation on the Supreme Court. That's the point that I'm making. You know,
there it is, right?
In saying he's an Uncle Tom, what I am saying is that we need true representation in the White House, just like on the slave plantation. If there was a slave who was an Uncle Tom, and you know, there actually was a slave who was, I mean, the name, it was an actual person.
Yes.
But the Uncle Tom on the slave plantation did nothing to assist the other black slaves, despite the fact that the Uncle Toms were in a position due to their relationship with the master and the mistress. They were in a position to help their fellow slaves, but opted out of doing so to make their own lives more comfortable. Okay. And so it's unfortunate having one of those slaves on the Supreme Court right now.
Ooh,
we need to balance it out.
Going there, JP. You really going there.
I spoke too much Unspeakable. Did I?
Yes, you did. You did the whole Unspeakable.
Let me move on then. Okay,
yeah,
so
moving on.
Yeah, let's get to our next segment, because I have a whole lot more to say, and it just gets worse from there. So let's move on. We are going to get to the question of the day, which is, I'm having trouble focusing and concentrating. I believe that I may have ADHD. And so in the part 1 of this, Stacy D was our test subject, and we were going through and assessing and tracking the D's symptoms. Anybody who saw that, you know, it was...
I didn't test very well.
Quite a process. Stacy D, your symptoms were so off the chain that we didn't get through the assessment. For the fact that we couldn't finish the assessment, which typically would take about 10 minutes, the fact that we couldn't finish the assessment in and of itself, that should be you meeting the criteria for ADHD.
Oh, I know I did.
Okay, but for those viewers and listeners out there, on our Facebook page, we uploaded the assessment for adult ADHD. So what the assignment for you all was to complete the assessment, and then for us to go through it and score it, and then you could diagnose yourself with ADHD, because technically therapists are not supposed to diagnose people that we don't know, that we can't see.
That's
and
right.
You know, we're on the radio. So, but you can diagnose yourself with whatever you want to diagnose yourself with. Okay, so
Take it to your doctor.
for those of you who missed part 1, it's okay if you follow along with us now as we complete this segment. You will still be able to come up with a diagnosis, or it's really a tentative diagnosis, because ultimately a person should still go and see a therapist and and be evaluated for ADHD. Okay, so please don't, just take this and be done. If you end up having enough symptoms to meet the criteria for this, it might be a good idea to go ahead and see a therapist. All right, so Stacy D, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm just laughing about how this went the last time. All right. Okay, D.
Oh, and I do want to add that the state came into my business and had an audit. And this time I did not ask for an extension. I actually handed in my cases a day early.
I think that was a message for Michelle. To our listeners out there, one of the symptoms was struggling to meet deadlines and kind of procrastinating about things. Stacy D said that she did not meet the criteria for that symptom. One of her best friends was on the air with us and said she absolutely does, and provided that evidence that the D has to get extensions when she is being audited. So because of that, you didn't. If she would not have said that, Stacy D, you would have had to get an extension.
Yeah.
Right?
But I probably would have, because I would just put it on the back burner. Okay. Like, it's not that important.
But on a positive note, what this means is you self-managed that symptom.
Yes,
because
I did.
Right, because one of the things that we have been doing, this is part of what took so long. It wasn't just the D, being distracted. We were also talking about how she self-manages these symptoms, and you actually provided a lot of useful information on how to self-manage these symptoms. And so we're kind of covering both bases. We're covering the symptoms and discussing how to self-manage. All right, D. So here's the next question. Do you struggle with losing things a lot? Losing things that are necessary for task completion? So like if there's a project or an audit or something that you need to complete, or you're being audited rather, do you struggle with keeping up with the things that you need in order to complete it? Or when you were a kid in school, did you struggle with losing pencils?
Losing my pencils?
Notebooks, pencils, notebooks, whatever.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I never had a pencil in class. I used to always borrow pencils, and yeah. And I had a good friend that used to always keep pencils. So as long as I was in a class with her, I was cool, because she always made sure that her friend had a pencil.
So the good friends help you with this symptom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because especially when we was in high school, because I throw a pencil at somebody in 2.2 seconds, do something, taking my pencil and I'm throwing it at you in the highway. So yeah, me and ink pens and pencils didn't do well.
Okay. In your adult life, do you struggle with losing your keys, wallet, glasses? Nope. I know you had the eye corrective surgery. You ain't wearing glasses.
No more glasses. No, right. I really don't.
But when you had them,
I'm real good.
When you had glasses, did you struggle with losing those things?
Nah, I had about 20 pairs. You know how I got down.
Well, did you lose 19 of them?
No. I never lost glasses. Glasses might have been dirty, but I never lost them.
Okay. Wallet, keys?
Never lost my keys, never my wallets, my keys, no.
Okay.
Because I have a routine. No, it's about a routine. So that was me doing my self-management. I had a routine of where I did with everything. So nothing never came up lost.
Okay. So you're self-managing that. But tell me, when it comes to this symptom, and think back to when you did lose things, your pencils, etc., Did this occur never, rarely, sometimes, often, or very often?
Very often. I would lose my homework too.
Really?
All
See,
the
that's a
time. I
problem.
would do the homework and then would lose it because I was trying to be so together and have the folders or something like that. And I would like put the homework in the folder and leave it on the kitchen table.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was trying to get organized, like put this in this folder, this in that folder. Yeah.
Okay.
Then I had to start doing checks and double checks and quadruple checks.
All right.
Self-managing.
A lot of self-managing. Okay. Number 11. Okay. Do you get oftentimes easily distracted by extraneous stimuli, things going on around you?
All the time.
Yes.
If anybody noticed me, I'm at home. My desk is to a wall, not the window.
Right.
Because I get to looking out the window and just be like, oh, there go a red bird.
And if you were here at the station today, because someone walked into the studio, and you know what you do when people walk in here.
Hey, Mr. Professor.
Yeah, you just.
I held it. Y'all know how hard it was for me to hold this? Because I knew you was going to say something about it, so I held it.
And listen, the professor, he got some ADHD because he was busy doing something. You said, hi, professor, he's waving. Okay. But for those of you who recall, if anybody walks up in here while we're doing a live broadcast, the D will stop and speak to them. Okay, so.
I'm a very pleasant person.
Yes, you are. Now, let's discuss how often you're that pleasant. Does this happen never, rarely? Well, we know the answer's not never. So let's just go up to sometimes, often, or very often.
Very often.
Okay. For our listeners, the options are, of course, never, rarely, sometimes, often, and very often. All right. Let's get to number 12. How often do you have to get up and get out of your seat in situations where remaining seated is expected, like if you're at a training, a workshop, a CU training, or anything like that? Or when you were a kid in school, did you struggle with staying in your seat? Like when you were in a classroom, did you have to get up and kind of move around the class? Just do you move around a lot in your office? Because you're in your office right now. Are you able to sit at your desk?
Did we answer this question?
For hours?
Hell no.
Heck
no. That's how I'm going to say hell no more. Heck no.
Because I can sit at my desk.
It was so bad. Okay, I'm going to let everybody in on the thing. My parents, my support system wanted me to succeed so bad that my mom, bless her heart, she went and got a doctor's excuse for me to say that I had a bladder problem and I had to use the bathroom a lot. So I wouldn't get in trouble.
For getting up and going to the bathroom. But
and my mom was a DON. She was a registered nurse. And she just was like, I got to help my child because it's going to be all bad. Yeah.
But in modern times, that is actually good self-management, that kids who have ADHD, they do need to be allowed to get up and move around. Yes. And so what you can do is arrange it with the school for them to be able to get up and go to the back of the classroom. That way they're not distracting all the other kids who also have ADHD. They can go to the back of the classroom and walk around. And I have noticed with adults, when I go to trainings and workshops and things,
we be in the back.
At some point, there will be someone in the back of the room walking around, eating cookies, donuts.
Talk about we stretching our back. You know, we got back problems. See, they don't want to say the ADHD, so they like, no, I can't sit down that long because of my back.
Right. When really they just can't sit that long. All right.
Can't sit that long. I'm telling you, this radio show just really tests me.
And it's only an hour. Okay, let me explain something to our viewers. It's typically a person is going to be able to sit for an hour. This is kind of like if it's like a couple of hours, 2-3 hours, 4. Like I can sit at my desk and do like 5 sessions back to back without getting up at all.
No.
Okay. And the D struggles to make it through the broadcasting of one episode of this show. All right. So D.
But guess what? When I'm in a home visit, it's different because I'm able to get up. I'm talking. I'm using my hands. I'm like turn around. I might have to get up, show them how I want them to start doing their house or washing dishes. Come on, help me with my word. I am bringing them into it. We're playing together, so it's easier for me to do in-home sessions than it is for me to do the telehealth stuff. I don't like it. I like being in people's homes. I just flow so much better.
Right. Okay.
My creativity.
So, what would you rate this, Stacy D?
All the time.
Rarely, sometimes, often, or very often?
Very often.
Okay, very often on that. All right. Number 13.
Questions is it?
Running around. There's 18. Running
almost done,
around
everybody.
when you were a kid. Think back to childhood. Did you run around a lot, climb on things in situations where you really needed to be still? And as an adult, this would be just a general restlessness.
Yeah,
Never,
that's why I don't sleep.
rarely, sometimes, often, or very often.
Very often. That's why I don't sleep. I can't rest my mind.
Okay.
I go in and start doing my something.
Okay.
Straightening up something. And sometimes it don't even look no better. Especially my office. I can't get my office to get right to save my life.
Okay. So number 13. And for those of you all who are following along, it's probably a little confusing because the questions I'm reading to Stacy D are a little different than what is on the assessment that I uploaded. And the reason being is because I'm reading the full symptom explanation, the full diagnostic criteria from the DSM, and it's kind of paraphrased on the assessment. So pay attention to both what I'm saying and what's on the paper, basically. All right. So, Stacy D, here's the next one. Do you find yourself struggling to engage in leisure activities quietly? This would be, being able to sit and just read a book for a few hours. Do you?
I can do that.
Okay. So, this one occurs never for you.
No, we're not gonna say never.
Okay.
Because while I'm reading the book, okay, so this is a tricky thing. While I'm reading the book, I actually put myself in the book. I know this might sound really crazy. Like if I'm reading a book, I can see myself in the book. Even like when I'm reading the Bible, I can see me like in it's like I put myself in the crowd when Jesus is talking and stuff. And I just get very involved and enmeshed in the book. Yeah.
Okay. So that's just having a really active imagination, which assists in staying focused though. Because otherwise you might get bored with the material, which is what happens a lot of times with kids and adults who have ADHD. They get bored with the material and they get distracted and they end up reading a whole page and they cannot remember anything that they've read.
See, that's the problem. They're unable to comprehend. I'm able to comprehend because I put myself in it. So I can remember so many different Bible stories. Okay. Now, the way I interpret it might be a little funny, but I do remember.
That is another good self-management technique to bring, if you're reading something, bring it to life by becoming a part of the story. Okay. Yes. Now, if you're reading a horror book, I don't suggest that intervention.
I don't read devil stuff.
For those of you out there who might be reading it, please do not do what Stacy D.
I don't look at scary movies and I don't read scary movies. I don't go to haunted house. I don't do none of that.
Okay. So your answer to this one is never.
Never.
Okay.
'Cause of my
Talking.
self-esteem.
Oh, this is a good one. Talking excessively. We're going to skip over never. What do you say, D? Rarely, sometimes, often, or very often? That you are just chatty.
Chatty catty. What you say, Lynn Shine?
Oh, Lord. You are fully distracted right now. Are
'Cause
you
she up there
talking to
trying to
somebody in your
She's
house,
trying to
D, while we on the
interact
air?
she's trying to interact on my assessment.
Oh, what did she say? She had feedback on this?
Yeah.
She said mama talks a lot.
Yeah.
Did she say that this happens often or very often?
Shay, but this happens
Lord.
often or very often. Which one? Often or very often? She gonna say very often.
She's correct. Okay.
Oh, so you agreeing too?
Please, you know I already knew the answer
Please,
to
Shay,
that.
get out of my fragrances.
You know, I already knew the answer to that. All right. Stacy D, number 16. We're almost done with this. You're doing a really good job today, even though you just got through talking to your daughter while we on the show. But she's giving some good information. Okay. Often blurting out answers before a person has...
do that all the time.
Oh my God, she just did it. You have got to be kidding me. You just did it. I read, 5 words of this question. You cut me off and jumped in. All right.
No,
So,
she'll tell me start doing that. I'm
so
sorry,
for those of you out there watching the show, I'm going to finish this question. D, please let me finish this question before you answer. Often blurts out an answer before a question has been fully completed. Completing people's sentences, struggling to wait your turn in a conversation, interrupting a lot. Okay, so
all that, all of the time.
we're gonna go with very often on that. All right. Ooh, the D. Okay. Number 17, often having difficulty waiting your turn. Like when you were a kid, did you have trouble waiting in line? You know, it's time to line up and go to the water fountain, go to the cafeteria. Were you cutting people in line? Or
yeah,
as
I would just have whole breakdown if I wasn't the line leader.
Okay. And as an adult, do you still struggle with just waiting your turn? Do you get impatient?
Well, JP, I would think about when we used to go out to the club. You didn't have no problem with me doing that money so we can get on up in the club.
Are we going to go with often or very often on this one?
Just often. We're going to do very often because I'm not waiting in no line.
Okay. And
because I will leave my groceries. I'll leave my groceries at the grocery store if I'm going to wait in the line. That's why I do curbside pickup. And I call them when I'm on my way to the store. See, I need to have my stuff ready.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I cannot wait in the line. I won't wait in a line for food. You know, if the whole family is lined up trying to get to that food on Thanksgiving, I'm sitting in the other room waiting. Like I'm not standing in line. And I will leave the grocery store if the lines are too long. Yeah. I'm not doing that. That's me. Me and Aldi's have a problem. Okay.
Aldi's has gotten better though.
Really? Where? Because you show up in Aldi's, they'll have one checker and a line stretching all the way down the aisle.
No, it done got better. It done got better. Excuse me, it has gotten better. Okay, number 18.
I'm gonna give Aldi's another chance. I'm gonna take your word for it that they're better.
Give Aldi's another chance because you know I'm very impatient.
Okay, last question, number 18. Let's see. Often interrupting or intruding on others, butting into conversations, butting into games, butting into activities. You may start using someone's things before getting their permission. Just taking over what someone's doing. You walk in the kitchen, one of your grandkids may be doing the dishes. You taking too long. You ain't doing it right. You just jump in and take over.
No.
So
I don't see that one.
Okay, so you do not struggle with interrupting, intruding, butting in, or
Why
taking over.
Why are you reading it over again, JP? I just told you no. What are you trying to say?
Because you said no to one part of it, D, and I don't think the answer is no to all of this.
You don't think it's no?
No to all of this.
So what would you say, JP? Enlighten me.
Well, one, Stacy D, you interrupt constantly. And I find it hard to believe that you are not butting into people's conversations. You don't butt into conversations, D?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
See, this is why we need
I'm not aware, or I'm not aware of it.
Okay, I'm going to put never. Okay, so now, for our listeners, for our viewers out there, this is how you score this assessment, okay? Those age 0 to 16 need 6 symptoms in order to meet the criteria for this. 17-year-olds and older only need 5 symptoms, okay? So I'm going to go through the questions that are inattentiveness symptoms, okay? Question number 1. If you scored sometimes, often, or very often, then you met the criteria for that. Okay? So put a star next to that. All right, let me see. What is the next one? Number 2 is an inattentiveness symptom. If you checked sometimes, often, or very often, put a star next to that. Number 3 is an inattentiveness symptom. With that one, if you checked sometimes, often, or very often, put a star next to that. Stacy D, you know you got stars on all 3 of these, right?
For real?
Don't play with me, D. Number 1, you said never, but you changed it to very often because Michelle provided evidence saying that it occurs very often.
Well, we're glad we don't have Michelle on the line today.
Okay, number 4 is an attentiveness symptom, but it only counts if you checked often or very often. So if you checked often or very often, put a star next to that. All right? Number 7, skip down to number 7. For number 7, if you checked often or very often, put a star next to that. Number 8 is an inattentiveness symptom. If you checked often or very often, put a star next to that one. Number 9 is a symptom for inattentiveness. If you checked sometimes, often, or very often, put a star next to that. Okay. If that occurs even sometimes, it counts. It's severe enough to count it. Number 10 is a symptom for inattentiveness. You would need to have checked often or very often in order for it to be severe enough to count. So if you checked often or very often, put a star next to that. Number 11 is for inattentiveness. If you checked often or very often, put a star next to that one. Okay.
How many stars do I have?
Stacy D. You have, out of the 9 symptoms, you have 9 stars. Okay, so for the rest of you out there, count up the stars. If you are 17 or older, if you have 5 or more stars, you meet the criteria for ADHD, predominantly inattentive type. Okay, so now let's go to ADHD, predominantly hyperactive impulsive type. Let's see if you have symptoms of that. Number 5 is a symptom for hyperactivity and impulsivity. It counts if you checked often or very often. Instead of a star, I want you to put a circle next to it, okay, to count that symptom. Number 6 is a symptom for hyperactivity and impulsivity. If you checked often or very often, put a circle next to that. skip down to number 12, because from 12 to 18, all of these are hyperactivity, impulsivity symptoms. So I'm going to tell you what the severity is, and you put a circle next to any of these that you meet the severity. Number 12, if you checked sometimes, often, or very often, put a circle. Number 13, if you put often or very often, put a circle. Number 14, and Stacy D, I know you are gone. Ain't no way you still paying attention to us at this point. Like, your symptoms have taken you somewhere.
No, I was thinking about tonight, but okay.
That's, your symptoms took you somewhere. They took you to tonight. Okay, number
I gotta
4.
go to the board tonight. I gotta go to the board, so I was just thinking about what all I need to do when I get to the
Right.
board. Okay.
The D is distracted. All right. Number 14, if you checked often or very often, put a circle next to it. Number 15, if you checked often or very often, put a circle next to it. Number 16, if you checked sometimes, often, or very often, put a circle next to it. Even if it happens sometimes, that's severe enough for that symptom. Number 17, if you checked often or very often, put a circle next to it. And number 18, if you checked sometimes, often, or very often, put a circle next to that. All right. Now, as I said before, age 0 to 16 needs at least 6 circles. Age 17 and above needs 5. Stacy D, you have 7.
Oh.
Okay. So let me
And I
explain.
think that's pretty good that I'm still hyper at 50 some years out. That's the plus.
It is a good thing. You still have high energy. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because when it comes to ADHD, the symptom that is typically a problem, especially in kids, is the poor concentration and struggles to focus. All right. That is what makes school difficult for kids to make academic progress. The symptoms of hyperactivity and impulsivity are not that big of a problem. The hyperactivity isn't that big of a problem. Like, I usually encourage parents to get used to the fact that their kid is moving around a lot. Like, quit yelling at your kid to be still and they have ADHD. Now, the impulsivity, doing things without thinking about it first, that can get kids in trouble. With adults tend to self-manage that impulsivity much better. So they'll have that fidgetiness and that high energy level. And as Stacy D just said, that can be an asset, because that's a person who's going to be able to work harder, work longer, work stronger, because they have that high energy level.
So true.
So I have a family member who he can do a lot, because his energy level is always on 10. All right, so Stacy D, you had 9 stars and 7 circles. So the diagnosis.
Woo! I got all those stars.
You got. So the diagnosis would be ADHD combined type. All right.
Yeah.
D, any questions?
None whatsoever.
Okay, any of our viewers and listeners out there, if you have any questions about this, feel free to go to our Facebook page. You can inbox us if you want to ask your question privately, or you can just like respond in the comments for this episode, and we will answer your questions as far as this assessment and this diagnosis is concerned. But pretty much that wraps that up. Okay.
Put a bow on it.
Now, we only have a few minutes for this bonus segment. It is February, the month of love. And so what we need to decide is which dating app we're going to use to create Stacy D's profile, because many adults struggle with having success in using dating apps. And so we're going to try to get to the bottom of that and figure out how to make it successful. But first we have to pick an app. So, Stacy D, we only have like 2 minutes left. I suggested 2 apps. You suggested a different one. My suggestion from clients was Tinder and Hinge. I had never heard of Hinge. You want to do, what is it?
I think it's Black Be Okay.
Okay. And I've never heard of it. Be Okay. So that's the one we're going to do.
I just found out about it last week. Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, let's just put out there for our listeners and see which ones they pick. Because, I'm game on whichever one. I already got my profile pictures and everything to Mr. Walker.
That's what we're going to do. I'm going to post it on our Facebook page and see which ones the listeners suggest be used to get the most success. And then next week, we're going to set up this profile, and Stacy D you're going to be going on these dates.
I'm going to go, but you're going with me though too.
I'm gonna be back in the cut recording.
You're gonna be back in the cut reporting.
Right, me and Nadine having dinner at our table.
6'3" to 6'5", 6'3" to 6'5", no stomach.
You can put that in the profile, D. All right.
If you're not over 6 feet, do not even bother. By
Stacy D.
I'm gonna keep.
Don't
swiping.
do that to the 5-footers. Don't do that to the 5-footers, D.
No stomach. I'm not dealing with no stomach.
You're short, Stacy D. Why do you need somebody 6 foot? You're short.
I'm gonna look up to him. Like, oh.
Well, he ain't got to be real tall for you to look up to him. All right. This is it. This is a wrap for today.
This is it.
We're good for today. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And remember, worry about nothing
and pray about everything.
Thank you for joining us. Take care and God bless.